Hi, I'm Marco from Performance Hypnotherapy. Acceptance is a core ingredient for a life of well-being. Have you ever been or seen someone or heard of someone at a swimming center in that whirlpool which goes around and around? It has a current which takes you around and around. You can have a very pleasant experience going around with the current. If you try to go against that current, it can get exhausting very soon. You have an option. You can go with the current and enjoy the experience. You can go against it and get exhausted, or you could step out and find another whirlpool where the current goes in the direction that you desire. Striving to change something which you cannot control, like the current of the whirlpool, is very damaging to mental health. It leads to frustration, stress, anxiety, anger, and a host of other negative emotions which are ineffective for you and which lead to further negative emotions. It's really key to make the distinction of whether you want to strive to change a troublesome circumstance or part of yourself, or simply to accept it. And the key distinction is knowing that you cannot change things that you don't control, like the whirlpool. It's probably no coincidence that all the major religions in the world have acceptance as a core principle in their teachings. One of the spiritual teachers of the 21st century, Eckhart Tolle, speaks about three levels of living. The top level is enthusiasm. The second from top level is enjoyment. And the first level is acceptance. When things are difficult, Eckhart Tolle says, the moment that you accept them, the moment that you step back and sit with the intensity of a negative emotion, for example, and accept it, is the first step to being free from it. And interestingly, research shows that when we accept negative emotions that have been a part of our life for a long time, rather than fighting against them, that is actually the first step in the process of change. There is more to do after that, but simply accepting that and being able to sit with the intensity of the emotion, knowing that it will pass, is extremely valuable in order to be free from that emotion. It's kind of like if you imagine yourself at a train station on the platform and you notice a train coming in the distance, and it's very small because it's far away. But as it comes closer, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and then it comes right in front of you. The train opens its doors and you are invited to enter. Now that train and the opening of the doors could represent a negative emotion that you have. Now you have a choice. That choice could be to go onto the train and go for the ride of the negative emotion, or you could step back and just sit with the intensity of that emotion for a moment, observing it, knowing that the doors will close, the train will move away, and as it moves away slowly into the distance, further and further and further away, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller and eventually disappears. Learning to step back and observe a negative emotion and just sit there with it, knowing that the intensity will dissipate, knowing that it is temporary, is absolutely key in order to have a life of well-being. So how do you know whether to strive to change a troublesome circumstance or part of yourself, or whether to simply accept it? Well, of course, it depends on the circumstances, but making the distinction of knowing that you don't control the tide of the whirlpool and you don't control the train which will come to the platform, but you do control your response. You can go with the tide, you can step out of the pool and find another whirlpool which has a tide which you like more, or you can just observe that train, is absolutely key to having mental well-being. Thank you for listening. I hope you found value in today's video, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.